Good morning, Wellness Warriors. It's September 26th already. So obviously the kids are back to school and they've just started CEGEP. And that got me thinking about education, right? Like this whole idea that we go to school to learn and we expect to get the facts about how the world works. We expect to get our questions answered. This information isn't only supposed to help us prepare for our adult life. For those of us who are on a career path, it's the basis for the medical, legal, financial decisions that you're going to be helping your clients to make. Now, considering how expensive university is, we have a pretty high expectation that the information that we're getting is quality information and that it's correct, right? And so you can imagine that I was really shocked in my university first semester no, it wasn't first semester, it was third semester, when my abnormal psychology professor, while explaining to me and the rest of the class that the brain is usually, we're barely using 10% of our brain, he pointed out that although we've made amazing advancements in the health field, we only really know a fraction about healing the body and the impact of medication on the body and mind. And that was frustrating for me to learn at the time, although I feel like as life is going on for me, I'm realizing how true it is. I've heard lots of doctors talk about the fact that the half-life of medical knowledge is 18 to 24 months. So, if the medical practices that doctors are taught is outdated after just 2 years, why is it that health is not approached with more curiosity? Doctors don't take the time with us to really understand what, for example, the last 2 months of our life has looked like. So they don't ask us what foods we've been eating. They don't ask us what kind of exercises we do. They don't ask us how things are going at work, right? Unless we talk about stress, then they'll ask us that question. But as a general practice, a general rule, that's not the first thing that they're asking us. They don't ask us how our marriages are doing, how our friendships are doing, how our kids are doing, beyond the point of, hey, how's it going? But to really truly understand, are you struggling in raising your children? They don't ask us about our sleep before making huge diagnoses and giving us prescriptions. I remember this because I remember going to the doctor when I had my thigh that was numb. And the doctor didn't ask me any questions about what I was eating or any of my history of my life. Now, I did come in with the idea that, wow, the only thing that's changed is I'm taking this medication. But the doctor was in the room with me for a grand total of, I would say, 6 minutes and told me I need to learn to live with it, which wasn't true, by the way. I digress. I think part of the answer that doctors don't ask those questions is because the basics of human health hasn't actually changed that much. So what we're learning in labs is about our body and how the body functions and, how our body makes certain things or break down. We're learning how the body functions in more detail, but our body has been doing that for centuries. Our body has been doing that, well, since I was born, but since my parents were born, since my parents' parents were born. So we're just learning it, but our body has always been doing it. And that piece of information that is new to our understanding impacts the medical interventions that get applied in the extraordinary circumstances when doctors need to save our lives. And that's really important, right? It's really important that we're getting these incremental upgrades in our knowledge. But how does that translate to our day-to-day, how we live our lives, our day-to-day habits? One of the things that we need to think about is that as we gather more information, slowly over time, we're getting more and more understanding of how the body works, but we don't see the whole picture, the big picture of how that intervention, because you have this symptom, I give you this medication because we just figured this out, how that is going to impact the rest of my life. So how does the ripple effect, right? You throw a pebble in the water and it ripples out, how does that impact the rest of my body? So I solved one thing, and we're so excited about it, right? We're so excited about the discoveries, and we put them into practice immediately with the expectation that maybe we can finally beat Mother Nature, right? We can live longer, live stronger, live healthier, be the perfect specimen. I want to give a concrete example. So let's look at birth control. As most women in North America take an oral contraceptive at some point in their lives. The reason to take a birth control pill is to make sure that you don't get pregnant. Very simple, very basic. We're trying to stop one thing from happening. So what are the side effects? The minor side effects: nausea, breast tenderness and enlargement, headaches, spotting, so that's like breakthrough bleeding, missed periods. The medical term for that is amenorrhea, which if you have it for any other reason, you're in trouble. Weight gain, mood changes, so like depressed mood and emotional instability, which I have a hard time believing that this is in the minor side effects category. Decreased sex drive, vaginal discharge, contact lens use intolerance, or visual changes. Again, I have a hard time believing that that's considered a minor side effect. The rare but serious side effects are blood clots. And in order to know if you have a blood clot, what you need to look out for, they call it ACHES, ACHES, which is abdominal pain, chest pain, headaches, eye problems, or so visual problems, and severe leg cramps. Severe leg pain. That's how you would know if you have blood clots. So I want to point out that headaches and eye problems were initially called minor problems, but actually are a possible sign of a blood clot, which is a severe problem. I secondly want to point out that cramps tend to happen in the abdominal area. So how do I know if I'm having just cramps or I'm having signs of a blood clot? I remember for myself, I had severe headaches. I had severe cramps. It never occurred to me, well, I didn't wear contacts at that time, so I don't know, but it never occurred to me that that could be a possible side of a blood clot. So the other rare but serious side effects that you might live, because that was just one of them, are high blood pressure, liver tumors, breast cancer risk, cervical cancer risk. Not only did I have those symptoms that I mentioned, but I don't even remember asking my doctor or reading the pamphlet really about the side effects, because I just assumed that my doctor wouldn't prescribe me something that could be a cause of cancer or high blood pressure. And I feel like most people approach things that way before they realize that there's a potential for mistakes to be made at the hospital or in the medical world, or that sometimes we're being given things because it's the easy answer versus the right answer. But I know when I was starting off in my birth control journey, when I was, how old was I? 20 something. My goal was, well, I don't want to get pregnant. My belief was my doctor's protecting me. We want solutions to our problems. We don't want to have to think for our doctors. We don't want to have to, we're expecting that we want solutions to our problems, and that the medical research that is looking to solve these problems and are making advancements at an incredible rate, by the way, might I add, that they would also be as concerned about those side effects as we are, and only implement things that they have found where the benefit greatly, immensely, ridiculously outweighs the possible side effect. And I can tell you that I don't think that the benefit of birth control, now looking back on it, outweighs those side effects that I just read there. And especially if I would have gotten one of those, well, I don't know. Did I have those side effects? I had the headaches. So maybe I did have some of those side effects. But had I gotten one of the severe blood clot and had a stroke, or like, I don't think that that was the only solution for not getting pregnant. There were other solutions. And it's frustrating to know that these side effects were considered minor, and even the severe ones were not explained to me in detail before I started to take the medication. If we have information that says, for example, apple cider vinegar can help with abdominal fat, or we have information that says, for example, the order in which you eat fat, carbs, and protein can lead to a diminished insulin response, does that mean that we found the answer to what our body is doing and how it's managing fat on our body, and that we should try to apply these measures immediately? Or is that one more step to understanding the way that the body works? And I want to say, from my experience of jumping in and trying that apple cider vinegar experiment, challenge, whatever you want to call it right now, I have to say that no, we shouldn't just jump in without knowing all the repercussions, because sure, in an unhealthy population of overweight people who were eating all the wrong foods and had large abdominal visceral fat to manage, they got a benefit. In a healthy person who was eating very clean already and was already at goal weight with a little annoyance happening around my midsection, it caused havoc in my body and returned the inflammation to my joints, and it was not a fun time. Most of us are starting from a place of insulin resistance and metabolic damage. And that means that we need to first and foremost try to solve our health issues based on getting the body back to a healthy state. So we need to allow the structures internally to be repaired. If you were renovating a house and you decided to start with the facade, so the outside of the building, what people see from the street, and then you did the kitchen, and then you did the master bedroom. And obviously the logic being, when I pull up to the house, it's going to look beautiful. And then when I'm in the house, the kitchen and the master bedroom, and maybe even the living room, are the rooms that I'm in the most. And I want to feel comfortable in here. And it would feel amazing to have accomplished that beautiful facade. It would feel amazing to be sleeping in that beautiful bedroom or watching TV in that amazing living room. But if the electrical is a fire hazard, the plumbing backs up every time you flush, and the heating doesn't work, your house isn't worth much, right? Nobody's going to buy that from you. And you're not going to be comfortable in that space because you're going to go to the bathroom. It's going to get cold. There are certain things that matter more than the look. In our effort to repair our health, it isn't about finding ways to make the exterior look fit while the interior is still malfunctioning. One of the most confusing examples I've encountered is the use of berberine. It's another, there's other plants, natural plants that they talk about too, but berberine is the one that comes up often because it can lower insulin. And the thing that always frustrates me is, why not reduce the amount of sugar you're eating? Can we stop and realize that every medication that we take, if we decide to take one, comes from a natural plant or mineral? It's not as if, it's like, yes, it was chemically altered, but it's not as if because it came naturally from the plant, that makes it something that we should. First of all, there are certain plants that we just shouldn't be eating. And I feel like I need to talk about that more. I've talked about nightshades, how the negative impact they have on me. Doctors are talking all the time about I shouldn't say all the time. Keto doctors are talking all the time about oxalates, about like anti-nutrients in plants and just things that are in vegetation that causes problems for people. If we can take a plant or eat something in a certain order or try to do what? To try to trick our body into being healthy while we're still eating too much of the wrong food. If we continue to expose our body to toxins, our body will continue to experience the effects of the toxin. The question is, are you more interested in looking healthy or being healthy? And the obvious answer is being healthy, right? That's the good answer. That's the correct answer. We want to be healthy. But to accomplish true health, you need to give your body the correct building blocks, clean energy, and avoid the toxins, right? All the toxins. I'm not just talking about sugar. I'm talking about, alcohol. I'm talking about other chemicals. If you want your body to be healthy, you need to take care of it properly. And so how do we actually get healthy? You need to eat the right foods, right? And I'm going to put a video on the screen and I'm going to put it in the description that you can go deeper on this topic, but it's about doing what we're talking about and putting your health first. Prioritize health over chasing flavors. It's going to do you good. It's going to do your body really good.